Hey there everybody, it's Nathan Cool with nathancoolphoto.com, and in this tutorial I wanted to show you how to light a long room. Now it's a pretty simple process to do this. I covered a little bit about this in my first book on photography for real estate interiors, and I covered in a lot more detail in the advanced editing book, Advanced Editing for Real Estate Photography. So the idea is that you're actually going to composite something together in most cases. So you can put a whole bunch of lights down one side of the room, you can put a whole bunch of lights down the other side of the room. A lot of times though you don't need a whole lot of lights, usually just two is all that you really need. So I'm going to show three different examples today. I wanted to show how I normally do it for the common case of compositing, and also when you can hide something to go ahead and light that longer room. If you can't hide the lights, composite is your friend. Anyways, you want to see how this is done? Let's get started. This is the first example, and you can see this is just an ambient shot. And then if I were to use a flash shot on this with my flash kind of behind my camera, maybe the camera right a little bit, then I'd be looking at something like this. And that's not necessarily the sexiest of flash pictures. You can see the flash didn't travel far enough into the kitchen. Simple fix for that. I take a light stand also into the kitchen. I keep my flash going that's over by my camera, but then I take a shot here, and then I take another shot on the other side. These are going to be composited together. Now, I'm not using a cam ranger, and you know that from reading probably in my first book, for reasons that I don't use it for a lot of stuff, and this is in one of those cases where all that I have to do is walk over here and go click half power on the Yongnuo. Then change that Yongnuo up to full power, click again, boom, let's move on to the other side. Yongnuo down to half power, click, full power, click, and then I just go back to the camera and I move on. Now, a lot of times I'll check first to make sure that nothing was too bizarre, but you get it to know after a while about how much flash power you can use. And once again, it's not so much for the even lighting as it is to get the color, so I have a lot of flexibility later once I'm in post-process, and especially since I took an ambient shot. So normally I would take the three shots, this shot, and of course the other side composite, and then the ambient, and bring that into Photoshop and merge those together. I'm going to actually bring in the fourth one though, which is what would have been just the standard light, to show you the difference once we get involved with this. So let me take all four of those, right click, and then edit in and open as layers in Photoshop. Now, all of these pictures were already pre-processed, and I used the same settings during the pre-processing that I covered in the first book, Photography for Real Estate Interiors. So once these load up in here, then pretty simple stuff that's really going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and take the first shot, the ambient shot. I'm going to turn into our luminosity that's in with a hidden mask. So you take that guy and go luminosity mode, and then layer, mask, hide. Now this is our flash shot. We really don't need him. I'm going to use him for comparison later. So here's our two shots, boom and boom. So what I'm going to do is take one of these guys, and I'm just going to go layer, mask, hide. Now take a brush at 100% opacity, and then just take one swipe over here. So we've got this brush. Let me go ahead and select the brush, sorry about that. And we've got 100% flow, and then just one swipe over. Now take the brush down to a 10% flow, and then just feather in what you need to, so you got something then covering the rest. So you got even lighting going on. Okay, that gives you then, instead of using a hard cut line across, there's just a real quick way to then blend what you need to. Now we're already starting to look better. If you take a look back at our flash shot without the composite, it looked like this. It really didn't go back far enough to light up those cabinets. This is almost at this point a finished product. I'm going to add just a little bit of ambient because it looks a little too flashy here up on the counter. So I just go up to my ambient layer. I'm going to use a 10% flow brush, and then just brush in a little bit of ambient, not a lot because it was really dark with the ambient. Add a little bit here for naturalness on the floor. I like to add a little bit of glare to floor. It's natural. A lot of people like to take that all the way off. Also a little bit of light coming in on the ceiling, make it look a little bit natural. A little bit of light coming in off the windows then over here. And then that would be pretty much done, and I'd be fairly happy with that. After all the post-processing then that I brought it back in, stuff that I show in the books, it would look like this. Okay, let's move on to the next example. We'll just close him out. We don't need him. Now we're going to go to an example where I've got definitely a long room. Now in this shot we wanted to showcase this built-in. So we've got this nice built-in wooden bench here. And to light that, if I had one speed light that would be near me, it would look like this. This is just one speed light, and it's barely lighting anything. You know, we've got nothing lighting this big room over here, but it's way better than the ambient. The ambient was blowing out a lot of stuff. It's got what I really need for the light, but I'm only going to use portions of that eventually. But everything's being blown out with the chandeliers blown out, and then of course this picture window above the entry door being blown out. So I've got enough color though coming in for my flash shot to be able to add some ambient if I want to in the kitchen, but there's no way I could add that much ambient into this room and get any kind of results that are worthwhile. So I go into that room, and don't ignore my belly please as my shirt creeps up on me as I reach for the sky, and I start shooting then my Explorer into the corners of the room, over on that corner and then again over on that corner. Now I've got some composites. So I've already done the pre-processing, and I'm going to go ahead and grab all four. Normally I'd only need three, but I'm going to bring the flash one in to show the difference. And I'd open these as layers in Photoshop. Real quick trick here to do it, just go to Alt-P. If you don't want to use the mouse, go to hit E and then OO and return. Now that'll open those layers in Photoshop. Once again, the pre-processing was completely done on these, so all my geometry stuff was taken care of. Everything that's covered in the first book was completely done on these, just to save some time in this tutorial. And of course, you've seen me do that probably 100 times in these other videos as well. So once those load up, I'm ready to start editing. Now I'm going to use the fast flambient on this one, but I'm not going to get to that yet. Let's get to that in just a second. First thing off, let's get now to just our two composites. Now this is something that's a complete preference. Do it however you wish. It's the same concept of using masks and masking on one side or the other. I like to take if I see one picture better than the other, then I use the other one as just the patch layer. And so I liked this one better, so I'm going to take this one, put him above, and go layer mask hide. It's just a preference. It could be just whatever you prefer. I'm going to use a brush at 100% flow, and then just do a swipe over me to make sure I'm hidden. I don't want any artifacts of me in there, and no ghosting. And then I go to a 10% flow, and then I feather that in just a little bit better. This one feathered in quite nicely. Got a little bit of an artifact up here on the ceiling, but I can't get rid of that because it's in both shots. So what I'm going to be able to do is fix that with the ambient. But as you can see, compared to our other shot without doing a composite, we're already miles ahead. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a fast flambient. Now if you've never seen me do a fast flambient, I really encourage you to go watch the video in my video list here on this channel called Fast Flambient. And if you have, then you know that all I'm going to do is hit my F4 key, and it's going to apply that fast flambient. So I've got that done, and now I'm just going to take a brush with a 10% flow and start getting in other areas that I think need a little bit of improvement from doing the fast flambient, like the kitchen, maybe a little bit on the bench. And we're going to go ahead and do the upstairs just a little bit, fix that artifact on the ceiling as much as we can, get that just a little bit of improvement. We'll also light up just a couple rooms down here, down in the bottom, fix some of this that was on the top. It was a little bit too fleshy. However you want, and that's anyways the concept of it. When the whole thing is done, the finished product after post-processing looked like this. Okay, let's move on to the next example. We'll just close this one out. This is going to be then the third and final example. I won't have to go through the whole editing, but I just wanted to show you the footage behind it. So in this case, I was at a house that, very nice place, but it had these wood ceilings in the kitchen. And now if I were to try to do this composite trick, it just isn't going to work. There's nothing to bounce off of. So if I just did a flash and I tried to fill it with ambient, this would be the flash shot. And there's a bit of a problem here. Now I could probably use some ambient out of that luminosity in the flambient, the flash ambient blending to bring it out. But when you take a look at these cabinets, look at the colors. And to me, that's just annoying that the colors are off like that. So instead what I did was I took a flash shot with a umbrella, a speed light and a shoot-through umbrella hidden behind this wall and shooting into the kitchen. And if you look closer, you can see that reflection of that shoot-through umbrella here, which needed to be repaired. But when you take a look at now the cabinets, you can see the difference. So you can see that those cabinets in the flash shot without the shoot-through umbrella turned on, it's kind of yellowish. Once I hit it though with flashed light, they turn properly white. Now to fix this whole thing and to be able to get that reflection out of that microwave, you can use the same trick that I show in the advanced editing book when it comes to doing the gradient swaps on televisions. It's the exact same process where you just place a gradient on here and that would edit that, take care of that reflection. The ambient can cover up quite a bit of it, but there's still a little bit of that umbrella reflecting in there. So I would just put a gradient overlay or a color, however you want to do it. Anyways, at the end of the day, when this whole thing was put together with the window pull and all, it looked like this. And that's how you light a long room. All that you have to do is take your lights and just put them right down one side of the room, and this room can be as long as you want. Take a shot, it's lighting the other half of the room. Then you can go to the other side, do the exact same thing, then you can composite those together. If you don't have a ceiling to bounce off of, you can use a shoot-through umbrella. In this case, I was able to hide the shoot-through umbrella behind that brick wall, but you wouldn't have to. If you did have a long room and that's all that you had were shoot-through umbrellas because you don't have a low enough ceiling or the ceiling is too dark, then you could do the exact same thing. The idea is that it's okay to see your lights because you just move them out of the way, take another shot, and then you can edit them out later. Pretty simple to do. Anyways, I cover this in a lot more detail in the advanced editing book, and there's also some information as well in the first one too on photography for real estate interiors. Anyways, I hope this video was very useful for you and that you can use some of this in your photography as well. If you did like this video, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. It won't cost you anything, and as soon as one of these videos is posted, you'll be the first to know. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, take care, be safe, and get out there and shoot something.